Welcome to the Sharon Decker podcast, where we share stories of who we love, what we love, and places we love in Western North Carolina. So settle in, listen up, and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. So glad you joined us again for the Sharon Decker podcast. I'm excited about introducing you to a new friend. Will Lewis is an entrepreneur. He's a leader. He's worked in nonprofits, for-profits, education, all across the universe of business possibilities, always as a leader with purpose and intention. Will Lewis, thank you for joining me.
Sharon, let me first of all say thank you for that introduction. That was heartfelt, and I see you as a friend as well. And thank you for this opportunity to spend some time with you on the Sharon Decker podcast.
Thanks. Will, I, on the podcast, like to introduce people to folks who will encourage and inspire them, and you're definitely a guy that's going to do that. I had the opportunity to meet Will at an event that was in Asheville several weeks ago that was sponsored by the Center for Private Business from Wake Forest University. They are really upping their game in Western North Carolina, and I'm so grateful for that. They invited Will to come along with a group of entrepreneurs panel for a conversation about the challenge of entrepreneurship and leadership. And I was introduced there not only to Will, but to his latest book, Perched in the Storm. Now, Will, there is a beautiful bird on the front of this book, and Dr. William T. Lewis is the author.
Yes.
That's you.
Yes,
And
yes.
I want you to start by telling us about why you were so intentional about how this bird is perched on the front.
Sharon, one of the things that I communicate in metaphors. And so as I'm doing any of my writing, any of my thinking, I see things in metaphors. And there was a story that was told to me several years ago, maybe about 20 years ago, about this bird that was in the middle of the storm. And the storm was raging, the wind was blowing, leaves were flying all over the place, the sky was dark, lightning was striking, and this bird was just on this limb, on this tree, on this limb, in the middle of the storm, steady, just waiting, right, for the storm to pass. And that story was told to me 20 years ago, and it still stayed with me. So when I began thinking about a title for my book, and actually this title is the second title for the book, but when I when I settled on the title for the book, this bird, the imagery, the metaphor came back rushing to me like a gushing wind, if you will. And so I had to land with this. And when people see it, they automatically know what it is, and it has a story to them. And so for me, that's the reason that I chose that bird on that limb.
This bird's feathers are pretty ruffled.
Yes, yes,
You're a little
absolutely.
wet, dampened, but by gum, it's still standing. I have
Yes.
to share with folks, Will, that your first title of the book speaks volumes to me, where basically it says, the first title was, This Shit Ain't Easy, Leadership Lessons from the Eyes of an Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of sums it up. It's not easy. So, Will, you've been an entrepreneur, you've been in for-profit, nonprofit businesses. So talk to me give us 2 or 3 thoughts from the book, from your life experience, that you think it's important to remember if you're an entrepreneur, you're starting something new, you find yourself in the midst of the storm, which is absolutely inevitable. What would you say to us?
Sure. I think one of the first things I would say is, yes, it's not easy, and I really wanted to use that title. But here's the thing, and when you're in the storm, a lot of times you feel as if you're in it alone. And one of the things that I realized as an entrepreneur and going through the storms, let me just share with you just one of the storms that I've experienced. For the very first time back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, somewhere around there, for the very first time in my professional life, I found myself rudderless. I found myself without direction. I found myself with my bank account on zero. I was standing up a consulting business with a business partner, and that business was going south very fastly. My wife was standing up our family coffee company, Cam's Coffee. We had a household of 2 entrepreneurs where income was coming in inconsistently, and we needed one primary income. And so I was the one that would be making that primary income, and things just fell apart in 2018. and found myself in a bed in a fetal position, not wanting to get out of bed, just depressed. I always had a lease on life, right? And so never thought about ending it all. But
Right.
the pain, the embarrassment, I had to borrow money from my parents,
Mm.
from my father-in-law. It was just a place where it's like, is this what life is meant to be? Is this what
Yeah.
entrepreneurship is meant to be? Coming out of that, and that was the hardest thing that I had to do. I had a car repo. That was the hardest thing that I had to do
Wow.
in my life, right? But
Yeah.
coming out of that, I realized something. And what I realized is that the storm did not come to break me. That storm came to
Mm.
reveal me and reveal my strength and reveal my tenacity. And that's one of the lessons that the storm did for me.
Yeah. So how did you come to that, Will? And I'm just so grateful for your honesty and just sharing so openly how difficult the space was, because I think a lot of people get to those points for a lot of different reasons, but we can't talk about it. We can't open up about it and learn very quickly we're not alone, which I know is another one of your lessons in this process. But how did you come to that place where you could say, okay, this is not the end of my ability to be successful in this life. This is awful and it feels terrible and it's just the worst of circumstances. But
Yeah.
how did you make that turn that says, this is going to make me stronger? It's
Yeah.
not going to make me quit.
Two things, Sharon. First of all, my belief in God.
Yeah.
So my faith, I
Yeah.
believe God's not going to take me to a place and leave me there. He's brought me
Amen.
out of other
Amen.
situations, right? And so that's the
Amen to
first
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I've been through storms before and
Yeah.
I've been successful. And so that was the worst storm I had in my life, but that was not the only storm. That was not my first storm.
So important to go back and see that and know
Yes.
you made it out some way, right?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you something else. My mother, so my faith,
Yeah.
previous experiences,
Yeah.
and then what my mother put inside of me, which is this sense of determination, this sense of not giving up. I tell my wife all the time, I'm going to bet on me. Now,
Yeah.
I was in a low point, I was in a valley moment, but I never lost hope. Never lost hope. I was
Mm.
depressed, but I never lost hope. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
as business, as
Okay.
entrepreneurs, as humans, when we go through our storms, we cannot lose hope.
Right. Right. And that hope, I think for you, it certainly has been for me in my experience, comes from a spiritual death. It's,
Yes.
for me as a follower of Jesus, it is kind of connecting and knowing that there's a power greater than myself that can help me through that darkness. Done it times before, to your point.
Yes.
Maybe not as difficult as where you were faced right there, but you had experienced failure and challenge and you had made it.
Yeah.
So give me another lesson. That's a great one, that the storm is not intended to break you. The storm is intended to make you stronger and to come out of that with greater hope.
Another lesson that I've learned through the storm is it shows me of my sense of humanity. The storm, as it reshapes me, I take a look back and I begin to say, okay, who am I going to be in this moment? So the lesson is
Yes.
when we
It's
go
a
through the
decision.
storms, who are we going to be? It's a decision. So
Yeah.
I could be a victim,
Right.
right? Or I could be a victor.
Yeah.
I could say, and again, it's not about pulling myself up by my bootstraps because the reality is everybody needs somebody and we need a community to help us. But it's having that mindset that says, I am stronger than this. So I
Right.
think as an entrepreneur and as a person going through storms, we have to still our mindset to say that I can and I will get through this.
Right.
That doesn't
Right.
mean that I'm not going to get through it hurt. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to get through it unscathed,
Oh,
right?
just stop there. Stop there just a minute, Will. That's so important. It's not about coming out without scars, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
it's that mindset that says, "I can and will do this." I saw it in so many of the small business owners after Helene,
Mhm.
that it was just, "I am not going to let this define me. I'm not gonna let this be my point of failure. I'm gonna come out stronger." Your lesson number 1. Second, I can and I will overcome this
Yes.
and,
Yes.
uh, and come to a better place. Keep going. This is so rich.
And then I would also say, well, first, let me just go back, Sharon, and say that I saw that as well. So when I was in Asheville for the author talk, the
Yeah.
entrepreneurs around the table that we were on a panel with, they experienced,
Yes.
Helene, right?
Yes.
And what I saw in them is like, I'm hurt. I've
Yes.
gotten hurt. but I'm
Right.
still here. My business,
Right.
I'm still moving forward with my business, right? And so it's that
Yes.
faith, it's that hope. And so I think that something else for me that I learned is in terms of that mindset and that identity, is that the storm will come again.
Mm.
Right?
Mm. Oh,
It will, absolutely, because that's part of life cycle. Now, it may not
right.
come back as furious as what it had been before, but it will come again. My granny, she this is the story she told me. She said to me, I was a young little kid, hadn't lived life yet, and we were talking about life's pressures and stressors, and I was like, "Nah, granny, I'm not gonna experience any of that stuff." And she said, "Baby, just keep living. Just
Yeah.
keep living." And her words, every time I see a storm, I think
Yeah.
about my granny. Just keep
Just
living.
keep living. That was really good advice from your granny. Did
Absolutely.
did you ever imagine how many times you'd have to remember that?
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, it's been more than what I had
Yeah.
would like, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing in that is that you're either in a storm, coming out of one, or
Mm.
about to go into one. That is life cycle. That's the cycle of life. And what I've learned is from a spiritual perspective, the storm keeps us humble.
Mm.
So we go through storms, and everybody's storm is different. Your storm may not be as rigorous and as intense as mine. My storm may not have been as intense as yours. But the
Mm.
reality is that we all go through storms because it reminds us of how fragile this life is. And it
Right.
also reminds us that things are temporary,
Right.
and we should be accountable for our time, and we should not waste our time.
One of the things you shared in our panel was just the importance of humility in leadership, that
Yes.
recognition that this is a human journey, and to your point that there are going to be problems, there are going to be storms,
Mhm.
there are going to be challenges, but to kind of look at it all from a place of humility and recognition that we can't do this by ourselves, can we?
Yeah. No, no, we can't. And, although when we're going through the storm, a lot of times it feels like it's an individual experience, and
Right.
it is. The interesting thing is that I had to realize that the storm that I was experiencing was intense for me, but my wife was experiencing the same storm.
Mm.
And so not only was she experiencing the same storm, my family was experiencing that same storm. In that storm, I was looking at like, woe is me. But I
Right.
had to realize I'm not the only one in it. And there was strength in unity. And
Yes.
so I had to, one of the ways that helped me to reset was to recognize that I had strength in family. I had strength in my
Yeah.
family. I had strength in my community. But
Yeah.
I had to humble myself and lean into it and be transparent and say I'm hurting, because that's
Right.
where the humanity comes in. That's where human comes. A lot of times we hear all these motivational speeches about storms and you can get through it. And yes, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you can run through a wall, and you probably can. But the reality is that we're human and we're living a human experience, and we have to engage in our full humanity and also feel what I call feel the feels, feel those
Yeah.
feelings because they're real.
Feel them. Yeah. Don't stuff them down.
Yeah.
Well, you said so many important things there. One is just the importance of recognizing that we live in community. We were made for community. But what you said there that was so important was I had to speak up and say, I'm hurting. You had to vocalize rather than taking the tough guy role,
Yeah.
which we're inclined to do. When
Hmm.
I get in a crisis situation, I want to hunker down,
Yeah. Yeah.
work
Yeah.
harder. But there is a place where to get through these passages, we have to open up and be vulnerable and be honest with those who are
Hmm.
closest to us, our family, our spiritual community, our community at work, whatever the circle is we live in, and just say, I need some help because I'm
Yes.
hurting. This is tough.
Yes, it's real tough, and I
Yeah.
think that's it. One of the things that I tried to share with my sons, I have 5 kids in total, 2 adult kids in Indianapolis, biological kids, and 3 bonus kids in my marriage, 3 boys in total. And I share with each of them, it's okay to cry.
Thank you for
It's
that.
okay to show emotion. Do
Yeah.
not try to be
Gratitude.
strong. Yeah,
Yeah.
because here's the
Yeah.
reality. Mental health is real. And as a male, as a man, when I'm trying to be strong and hold it all in, that does nothing but just
Yeah.
tears me up on the inside. And
Right.
so I say release it, because the tears need to be released, and we
Right.
can release that
Right.
pain in the atmosphere. And so we can't hold it down. And so
Right.
being transparent, Sharon, I am an open book.
You are. This is part of your story. And it's part of the beauty of your story, Will, is that you are so honest about it. You also, in this book, talk with several entrepreneurs,
Yes.
friends that you know
Yep.
had experienced similar things in their journey. And I love that you not only share your story, but you share theirs in this process. It's that reminder that none of us is alone. We're all in this journey together. We all have mutually
Mhm.
similar experiences, and there's power in talking about it.
Yes, absolutely. There's again going back to this whole notion of a community and
Yeah.
being isolated. One of the things I believe in, I believe that the wisdom is not on the stage. The wisdom is not with me. The wisdom is in the room. And
Mm,
my job is to mine the wisdom out. And so I brought these
yeah.
entrepreneurs around the table so I can get
Love
their
that.
wisdom.
I love that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I want to speak about Keith Vest just for a moment. I have 10
Okay.
that I have in the book, but Keith Vest just comes to mind because talking about faith and humanity and a perfect storm. Keith in his business at this particular time when I interviewed him had talked to me about a perfect storm. He was diagnosed with cancer. His business was about to go under, number two, and there was a member of his team that had embezzled money.
Wow.
Health issue, financial issue, criminal issue
It's a
all
big
came at
storm.
him. A big
Yeah.
storm, perfect storm, three storm systems colliding
Yeah.
into one,
Yeah.
right? And I said, Keith, tell me about that. How did you get through it? And he said, Well, the cancer, he's in remission. He said the cancer helped me to put life in perspective. And he said once he reconciled with the cancer, he went back to his business partners. He said, Okay, a couple of things are going to happen. One, I'm about to take a step back, but before I take a step back, we as a business, we're about to move forward. We
Mhm.
can either shut down or we can move forward. They made the decision to move forward, so they were able to save the business, save their employees, and that allowed him to take a step back to focus on his health. But remember, we talked about that storm didn't come to destroy you, but it came to reveal you.
Right.
That cancer came to reveal him
Mhm.
to who he was and what he needed to do.
Yeah. I just spent some time with Keith Vest, remarkable
Oh,
guy, he and his wife.
yes,
And, to sit and talk with he and Salem and to understand a bit of their story, I mean, you pull it out, you tell it in your book. It didn't come to destroy him, it came to reveal him and to
yes,
make him a stronger, I think, a very wise person who's now using that wisdom to make a difference in so many lives. He certainly did that
absolutely.
through all of his career professionally, but now at a community level, really rethinking how he spends his time. Will, you share in the book so well about the importance of that resiliency, looking within when the storm comes, staying perched, right? Even when
Yes,
your
yes,
feathers are ruffled and the rain is pouring.
absolutely.
And I think Keith's story includes, going back to that deep well of spiritual
Yes.
well-being to say
Hmm.
my physical health is not where I want it to be right now, but my spiritual health is going to bring me through this. My mental
Yes.
health, my emotional health is going to bring me through this to a better, stronger place. You share in the story that about your own journey, and I appreciate you sharing what you say to your sons. So often in our culture, particularly
Mhm.
in business operations, we encourage a strength that
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
show a lot of emotion, and particularly negative emotions or emotions that express hurt. Talk a little bit more about that in your own journey and how you got comfortable with it. Because I think, particularly as a man of color, as a business
Mhm.
owner, for you to have that kind of courage is a lesson and inspiration to all of us.
I really appreciate that, and thank you. I feel that sincerely. A couple of things I think that as growing up, right? I grew up in a single
Yeah.
parent household with my mom. I did interface and interact with my dad. I actually moved with my dad when I was 16. But first 16 years of my life, I was with my mom, and I saw some of what she was going through as a single parent, and that influenced me to go back and when I was in college, I got a master's degree in social work. And although I'm not a practicing social worker now, but that particular degree really fit with who I am, the internal will,
Yeah.
the core of who I am in terms of helping people, helping the most vulnerable folks. And so there's always been this sense of hypersensitivity with me. Right.
Hmm.
So when I think about that and I think about applying that to a leader and leadership and male leadership, and I spent time I was in the United States Marine Corps, and so all the tough stuff
Yeah.
I've done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still come to this place to where The leader who is going to get the most out of their people is the leader who shows and appreciates humanity.
Mm,
It's the leader who strength comes out through being human, and it's not this toxic
right,
masculinity. It's not this
right,
we're going to get through it and we'll just buckle down. No, it's the leader that says, you know what, right now, y'all, I am not sure.
right,
I know we're going to get through it. I just don't know how,
right.
and I need your help to
Yeah,
get
it
through
just
it.
that kind of multiplies the strength, the
Yes,
knowledge, the
absolutely.
possibilities, right? Just by opening
Yes.
yourself up. Yeah.
Yes, and so it's being that vulnerable. So I believe in business, and what I've learned from business is when I have talked with my friends and my colleagues and say, I don't know, I just need some help. I
Mm,
need you to help me think through it. You know, I don't have the best solution right now, but together we can get that best solution,
figure it
right?
out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you know, Keith, you met Drew Hancock.
Yes. Yes.
So Drew, myself, and Tess Shaker, we have formed a company together called the Intersection. I
Mm,
love the name of our
I love the
company.
name. Yeah.
Yes, because the company name actually speaks to the real life experience of when you take the intersection of three different people, when you take them and you begin to cross and intersect their skills, the magic happens.
Mm,
That doesn't happen until
love
you
that.
say, I need some help, until
That's
you
right.
say, become authentic and vulnerable with people.
Right. No, you're so right about that. Well, and it's taken that hard step to say, I don't know. I need some help. Can we do this together?
Yeah,
Amazing things happen. The
absolutely.
book is Perched in the Storm. And, Will, how's the best place for us to find this?
The best way to find it is if you go to WTLewis.com, the book is there on my website,
All right, WTLewis.com. That would be
WTLewis.com.
William T. Lewis,
That's
Dr.
William T. Lewis,
William T.
absolutely.
Lewis.
And the T Sharon stands for Tyrone.
Tyrone. That's it.
Tyrone.
William Tyrone. We know him as
Yep.
Will. And boy, am I glad we know him. And I'm glad to introduce
Goodness.
you to our audience. Will, thank you for the book. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
what you're
Sharon.
doing. You're making a difference in so many lives. You have already, and you'll continue to. We're going to put several links along with this podcast. One will be to his website and to
Hmm.
access to his book. Another will be to the small business he and his wife own in the Greensboro area
Yes.
and a coffee shop there. There's a great story. You'll learn more about it on his website. And I'm so glad, Will Lewis, you joined us today. Blessings.
Sharon, thank you so much. And I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you. We'll do this again.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks so
Absolutely.
much. See
Thank
you
you.
guys soon. Thanks so much for joining us this week for the Sharon Decker podcast, where, once again, we've shared what we love, where we love, and the people we love in Western North Carolina. Join us next week, too. And in the meantime, you'll find us at SharonDecker.com or on Instagram at TheSharonDecker.